Hi, welcome back. My name's whatever you want it to be. Today we are making a homemade pasta with a rosemary pistachio pesto. Pesto is traditionally made with parsley and basil. I'm going to make mine with scallions, rosemary, and pistachios. Really simple to make at home. It's absolutely delicious. Your cook time is cut down by like 75% once the pasta actually goes into the water. The dough freezes really well. The actual noodles themselves freeze really well if you were to roll them out and then portion them and put them in the freezer dried. And you get to use a really cool tool called a kitara. First things first, we're gonna start our pasta dough. What I have here in my mixing bowl, 4 ounces of cornmeal to 12 ounces of AP, which means all-purpose flour. We're just gonna take that, we're gonna mix it with our hands here. So when I make this particular recipe with my kids at home, I like to make the dough just on a cutting board, not in a mixing bowl, because it's a lot of fun to see them get this stuff everywhere. We're actually gonna add a pinch of salt, mix that in. All right, so we've got both our flour and our cornmeal and our salt in here. We're gonna make like a donut, just in the center of the bowl there. Push all of our flour up to the sides. 4 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk. Give this a light beating. We're also gonna do about 1 ounce of milk and 1 ounce of olive oil. All right, so then we're gonna go right in the center of the bowl here. Essentially what we wanna do is we just wanna slowly start incorporating this flour into our egg mixture. We're just gonna kinda do that by pulling a little bit in from the sides at a time. With our fork here, rotating the bowl. The reason why I'm trying to do this slowly is to, in the best case scenario, avoid lumps. This is a 1 times batch dough. This will make like a one pound of dough, which essentially rolls out to a lot of pasta, but I'll make a 2 or 3 times batch, then I'll go ahead and freeze it. That way when I'm ready to roll out, I don't have to go through this whole process every time. You go from like totally loose to pancake batter, just keep working it here. The fork kind of works against you a little bit, so start using your hands. We'll just start folding in a little bit of flour here, folding the dough over itself. So I'm just gonna keep folding the pasta over itself. Essentially, I'm kneading this dough at this point, picking up any loose bits of flour that are still left in the bowl. And by kneading it, essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to develop the gluten in the dough. I'm gonna knead this. I'm folding it over itself this way, I'm rotating it 90 degrees, and then I'll fold it this way. And what I essentially want to do is I want to continue to knead this until the dough has so much spring in it that when I poke it, it springs right back at me. I'm just going to keep kneading this, work out any lumps in the dough. As I'm working it, you can see the dough is kind of becoming a little bit more elastic, which is going to be important as we put it through the pasta roller. All right, so I'm about halfway through the kneading process. You can kind of, as I poke the dough, you can see it's springing back on me a little bit. It's just not quite where I want it. I really want it to almost spring back to its original position. So, all right, I think we're pretty good shape here. We've got nice elasticity in the dough from the kneading, from like good gluten that's been developed. But in order to roll the pasta out itself, you kind of need to allow the dough to rest so the gluten can relax a little bit. So you can either wrap this in plastic wrap. In my case, I love to just kind of throw it in a Ziploc baggie. We're just going to allow this to sit and rest for about 20 minutes or so. Traditional pesto is typically made with parsley and basil. I love to do a rosemary pistachio pesto because I think that the herbalness of the rosemary really complements well with like the roasted nuttiness of the pistachios. So what I first like to do is I'll take a little knob of butter. This is our homemade butter here, and we'll put it in cast iron. As the butter starts to foam, we're just gonna kind of toast our pistachios in it. Go right in there with those. Salt. Just swirl this around a little bit. On the pistachios, I don't want to get too much color on them, but I definitely want to put a toast to them. It's just going to allow a little extra depth of flavor. The pistachios are really starting to toast a little bit. The brown butter is coming through. It's nice and floral. So I'm ready to go ahead and remove these from the pan and just kind of allow the residual carryover to continue to toast them. I have some scallions. Remove tops from bottoms here. Now we're gonna take all these bottom ends and save them. Just kind of give them a rough chop here, a couple pieces. This way they don't get locked in the food processor. Next we have our rosemary that I just want to go ahead and destem, and I'm going to destem it right into the pistachios because as I put this into the food processor, rosemary is delicious as long as it's really finely ground. You know, no one wants to eat a really big stem or leaf of rosemary, so I want to make sure that it's ground really fine with the pistachios. I have some roasted garlic. This is a Dolomina. This is a aged hard goat cheese, but really any hard cheese will do, so Parmesan or anything similar. And I have some fresh chives that we're going to fold in at the end. So we can go ahead and go to the food processor. All right, pistachios and rosemary in. Seal her up. We'll go ahead and give it a pulse. Looking pretty good. Go ahead and do a couple more. All right. And with the scallions. I like to use the roasted garlic over raw garlic because I think it's a little more mild, a little more subtle, complements the pistachios well, and just adds great depth of flavor. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Get a little more oil here. Looking good. It kind of almost becomes this scallion pistachio butter. So to finish, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I love this apple cider vinegar. It's handcrafted by George Johnson with all Nebraska grown apples in Cody, Nebraska. Last, we're going to shave in some cheese. Look at all that beautiful cheese, all its glory. I love using a microplane for this. I feel like there is no greater tool. All right, give a quick pulse. I like to do my chives by hand just because I feel like they're such a delicate herb that I really only want to run my knife over them once rather than putting them in the food processor and having the blade beat them up. All right, we got our pesto, which almost becomes, like I said, this scallion pistachio butter. We can go ahead, we'll mince some of these, set them aside. Our dough's taking a nice nap. It is ready to go. Take it out of our Ziploc baggie here. Good rule of thumb is you want to get your dough as flat and wide as you can by hand before you put it through the pasta roller. This pasta attachment is great. Makes the process a lot faster and easier. I'm going to start on 1, which is the largest setting, and I'm going to slowly start to thin the pasta dough out as it goes. So I'll put the dough through once, and I'll fold it over itself, bring my setting down 1, and I'll push it through again. I want the dough to become as wide as the roller is so that I have the greatest surface area to work with. And you always want to put your folded end in first, so as the dough comes through the roller, it's going to push up and pinch your 2 open ends back together. Fine, I'm going to do it again. This will probably be the last time that I give it a fold. I'm gonna start to give a little bench flour to my roller, as well as to both sides of the dough. Cut this in the length in which you want the noodles. At this point, the pasta dough is starting to dry out a little bit, which is great. It's what we want. You can cut them by hand and they can all look like snowflakes and not the same. You can use this really cool thing called a kitara. Okay, all right. So you just gotta take your dough. We'll give it a little bench flour here, like so. A little flour on our roller. We're just gonna kind of put some pressure. So cool. Fellas, you wanna impress a lady? Just kind of work it back and forth. This is like one of the, I don't know, oldest techniques. So simple, fun to make, cool to do if you're having a dinner party, date night, fun to make with your kids. Just gonna dump it out, and this is like ready to go in the pasta water. We're just gonna kind of drape it here. Okay, butter, pinch of cream, pinch of salt, and then our minced scallions. Let that all come together. We're gonna give a nice big scoop for our pesto here. I like to add a little bit of oil to my pasta water, and it doesn't flavor the water at all. But what it does is it breaks the surface tension so that as you're boiling your water with pasta in it, it's not going to boil over the edge of the pot. Dried pasta, this would probably take 8 to 15 minutes. This fresh pasta is going to cook in like 2. Give just another splash of water here, loosen it up a bit. All right, and our pasta goes. Kind of stirring and folding all this together here. This looks so good. It's rustic, but innovative with the pistachios and rosemary. I'm gonna finish with a little shaved cheese in the pot and then a little in the bowl. Delicious. What I love about this, really just a lot of fun to make, a lot of fun to eat. Simple, honest, and rustic. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Follow us on social media, all the usual suspects, where we share new tips, tricks, and recipes weekly of all my favorite dishes that I love to make at home. That's it. You want me to sing when I do it? No. All right.